Hello, my fellow unicorns. Today I'm going to be reading from the Random House Book of Fairy Tales. Today's story is going to be The Valiant Little Tailor by the Brothers Grimm. One fine summer morning, a little tailor was sewing at his window. The streets were quiet, and then from far away he heard a farmer's wife call out, "Jam for sale, sweet jam for sale." It sounded good to the tailor, so he leaned out the window and said, "Come here, old woman. This is the place you will sell your wares." She walked up the 3 steps to the tailor's shop with her heavy basket and showed him what she had. "Ah, delicious," the tailor said. "I will take 4 ounces, and if it is a quarter of a pound, that makes no difference to me." The woman had hoped for a much better sale, gave him what he asked for, but went away grumbling. The tailor never noticed. He took some bread from his cupboard, cut a large piece, and spread the jam over it. "This is just what I need," said he. "It will give me strength for my work. Oh, but before I eat, I must finish this jacket." So he put the bread on a chair nearby and sewed away, making larger and larger stitches because he was so excited. In the meantime, the sweet smell of jam rose up toward the ceiling and attracted a number of flies. "What's this? Who asked you to have a taste?" cried the tailor, waving the uninvited guests away. But it was no use. The flies did not understand his words, and they returned and kept returning. At last the tailor became angry. He took a piece of the cloth and slapped it at the flies, crying, "Now you'll see what I have for you." When he was done, he counted no fewer than 7 of them lying dead. The tailor was amazed at his own skill and bravery. In great haste, he cut out a belt and stitched the words, "7 at one blow," upon it. "The whole town must hear of this," he exclaimed. "What? Not just the town, the whole world will know." Then the little tailor buckled the belt around his waist and prepared to go out into the world. In the cupboard, he found some old cheese, which he stuck in his pocket. As he was walking through the door, he saw a bird caught in a thicket. This too went into his pocket with the cheese. Now the tailor was ready to set out on his journey, filled with excitement and curiosity. The road led up a high mountain. When he reached the top, he saw an enormous giant sitting peacefully. The little tailor did not hesitate, but he went straight up to him and said, "Good morning, my friend. You have a fine view. As for me, I am traveling the world in search of adventure. Would you like to come?" The giant looked at the little tailor with contempt. "You miserable runt. Why, I could crush you with my big toe." "Stop," cried the tailor. "Not so fast. I know I am not large." However, he unbuttoned his coat and pointed to the words on his belt. "If you can read, that will show you what kind of man I am." The giant read, 7 at one blow, and thinking it must be 7 men that the tailor had killed, began to feel more respect for him. Perhaps the little fellow was worthy of a challenge. "Can you do this?" the giant asked. As the tailor watched, he took a large stone and squeezed it until water ran from it. "Oh, that is nothing," said the tailor. "It's quite simple, really." Then he brought from his pocket the soft cheese and squeezed it until the whey came out. "You see," he told the giant, "I can even draw milk from a stone. Beat that, I ask you." The giant did not know what to say. The strength of the little tailor quite amazed him. But he was not going to be bested up in the contest, so he took another stone and threw it into the air. Up it went, so high that the eye could scarcely follow it. "Now, little man, let's see what you can do," cried the giant. "I'll admit the throw was a good one," said the tailor, "but after all the stone will fall down somewhere. Watch carefully, and you will see that the stone I throw will disappear." Then he put his hand into his pocket and took out the bird and threw it upward with all his might. At once the bird spread its wings and vanished in the air. "Now what do you think of that?" said the tailor modestly. "Well," the giant admitted, "you can certainly throw, but can you carry? This is what we'll have to find out." He led the tailor to a great oak that had fallen on the ground. "Now if you are as strong as you say, help me carry this tree out of the forest." "Willingly," replied the tailor. "You must take the trunk on your shoulders, and I will carry the leaves and branches, as they are by far the larger part." With much panting and heaving, the giant took the trunk on his shoulders, but the clever tailor only sat among the branches. In this way, the giant, who could not look behind him, carried the whole tree and the tailor besides. Soon he was forced to stop. "The load is too heavy. I shall have to let it fall." At once, the tailor sprang down and seized the tree with both hands as if he had been carrying it. They went on together until they came to a cherry tree laden with ripe fruit. The giant seized the highest branch, bent it down, and gave it to the tailor. "Eat," he said. "Have as much fruit as you'd like." But as soon as the giant let go of the branch, it sprang up again, flinging the tailor into the air as if it were a slingshot. The giant laughed and laughed. "Look at you. You can't even hang on to a twig." "Do you imagine a man who could kill 7 at one blow would falter at such a simple task?" said the tailor. "No, I jumped over the tree because I saw hunters shooting in the forest nearby. Now you do the same. You jump over the tree." The giant tried, but only got tangled in the branches, so again the tailor had the upper hand. Then the giant said to him, "Since you are such a valiant fellow, you'd better come with me to my cave and spend the night." The little tailor agreed, but when they reached the cavern, there sat 2 other giants before a blazing fire. "Never would I have imagined such a thing," thought the tailor. "The world is a fascinating place." After giving him a leg of mutton, the giant showed the little tailor the bed where he was to sleep. But it was not comfortable, so the tailor crept into a corner and put his coat under his head for a pillow. At midnight the giant, thinking the tailor was fast asleep in bed, rose up and struck a blow across it with a heavy iron bar. Ah, there's an end to the cunning little grasshopper, and about time too. But the next morning, when the giants were out in the forest, not even thinking of the tailor, he walked up to them as boldly as ever. The giants thought he came to life again and were so terrified that they took to their heels and ran off screaming. The little tailor continued on his way, always following his nose. Finally, he came into the courtyard of a king's palace. As he felt weary, he lay down on the grass and was soon fast asleep. While he lay there, the people passing by read the words on his belt. 7 at one blow, they exclaimed. We must go and tell the king. Though it was a time of peace, the king was eager to engage the services of such a great warrior. He sent an ambassador out to tell him so. The man waited until the tailor opened his eyes and stretched his limbs, and then he delivered the king's message. To serve the king, you say, answered the tailor. Why, that is the very reason I have come. He was received at the palace with honor and given lavish apartments for his use. But the king's soldiers were jealous of the little tailor, and they went before his majesty. We want nothing to do with a man who can kill 7 at one blow. We will never fight alongside him. The king did not wish to lose all his soldiers for the sake of one, and began to wish he had never set eyes on the little tailor. But like the others, he was afraid to anger a man who had killed 7 at one blow. At last he sent for the tailor and said, In a forest not far from here 2 giants dwell. They plunder and murder and loot, and no one can subdue them. You may have 100 soldiers for an escort, and if you kill the giants, I will give you my daughter for a wife and half my kingdom in the bargain. This is a prize worth trying for, thought the little tailor. It does not come every day to a man like me. So he said to the king, Yes, sire, I will destroy the giants, but I do not need your 100 soldiers. I, who have killed 7 at one blow, am not likely to be afraid of 2. The tailor set out with the soldiers following, but when they reached the boundary of the forest, he told them to wait, as he would rather go alone to attack the giants. He walked among the trees and soon saw them, fast asleep. And snoring, the little tailor gathered a pocketful of stones and climbed the hemlock under which they slept. Taking careful aim, he dropped one stone after another onto the chest of the larger giant. The giant awoke with a roar and pushed his companion roughly. What do you mean, pelting me with stones? He yelled. You are dreaming, said the other. I never touched you. They argued about it for a time and fell back to sleep. Now the tailor was ready again. He took the heaviest stone in his pocket and dropped it right on the chest of the smaller giant. And once the giant woke up and cried in a rage, "Now it's you who are pelting me." "I never did," said the larger giant. "What? Are you saying I'm a liar?" roared the other. Then he sprang up in a fury and knocked his companion against the hemlock until its branches nearly shattered. The other returned his blows, and soon the two giants were locked in combat. So violently did they fight that they uprooted the trees all around them, and the earth shook under their feet. Finally, they were both dead. Down jumped the little tailor and walked out of the forest unharmed. "It is over," he said to the king's soldiers. "The giants struggled against me and rooted up the very trees for weapons, but all was useless against a man who has killed 7 at one blow." The tailor then returned to the palace and went before the king to claim the princess and half the kingdom. But the king was not willing to keep his promise. "There is one more thing you must do for me," he told the tailor. "In my forest, a fierce unicorn lives. Long has he terrorized the countryside, and many are those he has killed. Now you must catch him and bring him to me." "One unicorn will be nothing after 2 giants," the tailor answered. He went into the forest, and again asking those who had accompanied him to remain behind. Carrying only a rope and an axe, he approached the unicorn. The animal pawed the ground and prepared to strike, but the little tailor jumped quickly behind a tree. "Softly, softly," he cried. "There is no need for haste." At this the unicorn charged, ramming his horns so hard into the tree trunk that it stuck fast. "Now I have got my bird," said the tailor. But he put the rope around the unicorn's neck, cut the horn out of the tree with his axe, and led the animal back to the king. But even now, the king was not willing to grant the prize. "Before you marry my daughter," he told the tailor, "you must catch a wild boar that is tearing up all my meadowland." Once again, the soldiers were sent with him, and once again, the little tailor refused their help and bade them wait at the boundary. As soon as the wild boar caught sight of the tailor, he flew at the tailor with his tusks gleaming. But the tailor was too quick. He sprang into a little chapel that stood nearby and then jumped out through a window. The boar only saw him enter and soon followed him in and raced about in circles. Then the tailor bolted the door, trapped the animal easily, and presented him to the king. Whether he liked it or not, the king was at last obliged to keep his promise. The wedding took place with great pomp but little rejoicing, and thus was a tailor made into a king. Sometime later, the young queen heard her husband talking in his sleep. "Work away, there's a good lad," he was saying. "Finish that coat and sew the seams of the trousers, or I shall box your ears." The next morning, she told her father that he had married her to a tailor and not a hero. She wept and moaned and begged him for help to get rid of her husband. "Listen closely," said the king. "Tonight you must leave your bedroom door unlocked, and my servants will stand outside. When the tailor has fallen asleep, they will tie him up and carry him on board a ship that is soon to set sail." But one of the servants close to the little tailor told him of the plot. When night came and the queen was lying beside him, he tossed and turned and pretending to cry out in his sleep. "Be quick, lad, finish that coat and sew the seams of the trousers, or I shall box your ears. I have killed 7 at one blow. I have destroyed 2 giants. I have hunted a unicorn and taken a wild boar captive. Shall I be afraid of those who stand outside, waiting outside my bedroom door?" When the servants heard this, they were terrified and fled, if all those whom the tailor had killed were after them. From that time, no one in the kingdom dared to plot against him, and so the little tailor remained a king for the rest of his days. So, I love this drawing because it's a unicorn, so I love it. But I think the moral of this story is sort of like fake it till you make it. A lot of what the tailor does is he's very cunning, and so he uses his wits to get what he wants, and he uses bits of the truth combined with hyperboles, like white lies to make him sound bigger than what he actually is, because he's just a tailor with, I guess, aspirations of being something more. And so, but I also think, after he killed the flies, that he actually believed in himself. Like, he realized, hey, I can do a lot. And that just shows you the power of belief. You believe in yourself and what you can do, and you can literally achieve anything. Like, you can become a king in this case. But I love the drawings here, the illustrations. I love the proximity of the trees here in this magical forest. It's so good. And I love this one where he sets off like a warrior into the forest to deal with these 2 giants. I love the use of colors. It looks very moody and mysterious, and it's just so wonderful. I think the Valiant Tailor is a really underrated fairy tale. I don't hear a lot or see a lot of films or depictions about it, so this would be a good one to see, if it's done right. So, yeah, I really enjoyed this one. And also, I love this. He's so smart, making the giant do all the work. So, in this part of the story, I just love that he's eating bread with jam. The way they describe the bread, the hot bread with the jam, it sounds so delicious. have this thing where when I read or watch content that are movies that have a bunch of like food and drinks in it, I find it very satisfying, very comforting, and it just makes me want to eat. So oh man, I hear my neighbors talking. Oh boy. I tell you, moving into a new apartment complex has its challenges when it comes to ASMR, because you're dealing with neighbors and cars and people in other units, and it's just like I can hear everything. So if you hear something, I'm sorry. I know I sound like a broken record because I basically apologize in every video, but that's okay. It's just, yeah, it is what it is. But anyways, I want to thank you all for watching these videos. I really hope you enjoyed these stories as much as I do. There's something about fairy tales, something we can all learn from, and I love the magic within these fairy tales, because it makes you believe that anything is possible, because it is. Anything is possible. So thank you all so much for watching.